Hey guys, it's Ale. This episode's a little bit different. Episode. It's not even really an episode. It's just I need to get stuff off my chest about Game of Thrones, and this is the easiest way. So I know this is completely different to what the channel is, but it's almost like I'd be doing my own self a disservice keeping this all bottled up, especially seeing as like. Okay, so last night, season 8, episode 5, The Bells, came out, right? The second last episode of season 8, and I do a viewing party with my friends. We all hang around, we watch it, and then we kind of discuss a bit afterwards. And, suffice to say, that me and another friend, we both were able to acknowledge the very shoddy writing. And not even just that, it's just like this whole season, last season there are people who are like, oh, the writing is garbage, everyone's doing everything wrong, blah blah blah, and mentally I was just like, no guys, come on, you gotta appreciate this is what George R. R. Martin's great dream is for it, and all of this crap, and so I'm just like, okay, that's fine, whatever. And then as the season started, episode 1, we're getting all the reunions that we wanted. There's still the air of like, okay, crap's about to go down, be warned, be warned, be warned. So I was like, you know what, that's fine, I get it, whatever. Episode 2, we get more of that, and then we get, boom, the Battle at Winterfell, episode 3. Which had its own issues, granted, but was still a cool piece of television, even if the story was absolute garbage and everyone survived. When, let's be real, no one should have survived. That aside, episode 4 happened, and it was a setup for the Great War, and Missandei dies, and blah 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 blah. And now we're in episode 5, and we get to see 3 characters go completely 180 on who they are. Like, okay, so for starters, we get Jaime who's like who leaves Brienne, and now all of a sudden he's decided, you know what, I've done 7 seasons trying to build myself up to redeeming myself and being the person I should have been from the start, to like, just, nope, I'm going to go and die in Cersei's arms. And you know what, another thing that pisses me off? And this is what really gets me. Him and Tyrion, when he's locked up, Tyrion's like, well, what about the innocents? What about the innocents? And Jaime's like, I never cared about the innocents. That's not true, because he literally had a discussion with Brienne where he's like, and if your Renly had asked you to murder millions of people, what would you do then? So that means that when he because there are people who are like, oh well, he killed the Mad King to save millions, and people are like, well, no, he did it because of Tywin. No, he flat out tells Brienne the reason he killed the Mad King, aside from it being his dad the Mad King was asking for his dad, he was saying that it was because all those people were threatened. When he heard him say burn them all, and that the order was going out to the Pyromancer, he killed the Pyromancer, and then he killed Aerys. So now, whatever reason, it's like Jaime just forgot all about that? Or is it the writers who forgot all about that? The showrunners, they did a great job up until season 5, adapting what they had available to them. And I give them credit for that. There were some executive decisions that maybe people didn't agree with in the first few seasons, and that's fine. That's going to happen with anything. It's like, there are people who have those issues with the Star Wars prequels, where they're like, oh, these are garbage, and I can agree with that to an extent. They're adding in things to the story that shouldn't exist. I agree with that. Game of Thrones omitting Lady Stoneheart. Clearly she wasn't integral enough for the plot, so they thought about getting rid of her. Whereas in the books, she's actually kind of important. Anyways, that aside, so Jaime's just this complete 180 on his character, and it's all about, no, I just want to die in Cersei's arms, man, dude, like, that's what I want. Okay, fine. Let's suspend disbelief and assume that his idea to just die out on his days was what happens. Fine. Cool. Then we get... so I mentioned 3 people going completely 180. One of them wasn't too crazy. The other one was Grey Worm. For me. You know, the people have surrendered. Grey Worm has always been a protector of the people of Daenerys, right? And then, there's no reason for him to launch into an attack against the Lannister army after they've surrendered, when even if Dany goes and decides to blow everything up at that moment, he should have just been like, I get it, it's devotion to his queen, he's just going to do everything that she does, and if she's going to go on a rampage, well then, damn it, I want, revenge for Missandei. And I get that. But it's just... I think the biggest problem with this series, especially these last 2 seasons, is the lack of character depth we're getting. We've gone from having episodes where it's just like complete character exposition and character backstory to better understand the machinations of the minds of these characters, to now it's just like in shut-off frames and scenes that don't happen, we don't get to see how a person's dealing and coping with things. Like last episode, Arya and Sansa, when they're told that Jon's true lineage by Bran, the screen cuts to black. Or it doesn't cut to black, it cuts to another scene. Like, we need to see that. We need to see how that affects them. We need to see the reaction in taking that in. And instead, we're not shown that. We're just shown Sansa then, and then literally, after promising not to say anything, in the very next scene, going and telling Tyrion. Again, I know it's part of her greater plan and it worked. Because thanks to him, Varys died. Because Varys always did everything for the realm. And that death, I know one of my friends was very, very happy to see him go. I wasn't. I'll be honest with you, I wasn't. Varys was a great character. And to see Varys just completely... It's almost like Varys lost his ability to be the Spider. He always was the person who had backup plans and everything ready to go from the start, had all his avenues secured, and then for whatever reason, this season, it was like, you know what, I've resigned myself to my faith, or to my fate, rather. I'm going to die, and that's what it is. And, there were some scenes there where you can see he's writing the letters, and those are probably going, let's be realistic, to the Citadel, so that the word spreads about Jon being the real king, and that's going to lead to even more unnecessary conflict between Dany and Jon's going to kill Dany. Like, literally a 4-year-old could have figured that one out. But I think the biggest and most disgusting and egregious thing that's happened in the last 2 episodes is Dany. Emilia Clarke knocked that shit out of the park. She can act. Girl can act. She deserves awards for days. I can't deny that. What I can deny is the writer's ability to understand the characters they're given. There's literally a scene in the last season where Dany says she doesn't want to rule over a city of ash. Well, girl, look at the city now. It's literally a city of ash. And you know what? Oh my god. So last night, after I got home, I was decompressing as much as I could. I was avoiding Reddit. Well, that's a lie. I was on Reddit, but I was trying to avoid reading, like, literally the millions of posts, like, being constantly shot on. Because, like, it's just bad. People are upset. But the one thing I did do is every night after the episode, HBO posts their inside the episode thing, where, like, the showrunners, where D&D, they post their little tidbits about the episode. So I was like, you know what, let me watch this. Maybe they'll, they haven't said anything great before. They literally said, oh, we picked Arya, like, a while ago, and that's cool. And that's why Arya killed the Night King, because we wanted it that way. We wanted it to be something that you didn't expect. Fine, whatever. That is a storyline that got butchered to high heaven, but we'll discuss that maybe later. I don't know. I don't want this to be a 30-minute episode, but I'm just so riled up. Like, I went to bed, I woke up, and I was like, nope, I'm still pissed about this. I was going to record this last night, and I'm like, I don't want to wake anyone up, because I'm going to get mad, so I'm just recording it in the morning. I woke up, like, 10 minutes ago. And then, so Dany's character, throughout all of the seasons, has been about, she wants to protect the downtrodden from the elite. You know, it's all about she is, in her mind, the savior of humanity. Now, I get it. She's lost people and she's broken. But we don't see that. The only character exposition we have is that 10-minute segment in the beginning of this episode where Varys and his little bird are like, oh, she's not eating? Okay. She hasn't eaten in a while? Oh, okay. Yeah. To let us know that she's in grief. She's in grief because of Missandei, because of Rhaegal, because of Jorah, because of her Dothraki, because of her Unsullied, because everything she's done is just led to shit. Fine. Let's suspend disbelief a little bit more. I get it. We get a little tidbit that she's going through grief. Fine. But what the showrunners said at one point in their inside the episode thing, literally, I had to pause the video, I got up, and I walked outside. They said, so, for those who haven't seen the episode, surprise, you've been spoiled at this point, and I apologize, but I had the spoiler warning. Someone, that's the other thing, who rang the bells? Who rang the bells for the surrender? It wasn't Jaime. Because Jaime was trying to get to Cersei. So who rang the bells? Whatever. We'll just leave that one alone. Someone rang the bells. Some civilian ran up there and they're like, yo, I gotta ring those bells. Gondor calls for aid. So the bells are ringing. Dany hears them. Tyrion emphasized to her that if you hear the bells, it means they surrendered. She's at a vantage point. She can see that the fighting is stopping. And what does she do? Mad Queen. Burn them all. City of freaking ash. She basically levels King's Landing, for the most part. The dream she had, or the prophet, or the vision she had in the House of the Undying in season 2, and everyone was like, "Well, who's going to cause, the throne room to look so destroyed?" And blah blah blah. Well, guess what? It was Dany, because Dragonfire melts stone. You know, her whole time she's been built up as wanting to protect people, and here she's just straight up murdering innocents. For what? For protecting the future from tyrants. If that's really how they want to explain this away, it's bullcrap. It's bullcrap. Because that's not at all the truth or the case of it. I don't understand. I don't understand. And so, who does the blame lie with? Who does the blame lie with here? You know, I said it to my friends yesterday. I said, you know what? As much as I blame the showrunners for rushing their content, because news came out that HBO wanted to give them a blank check for this season and the last season, and they told them, no, it's a 73-hour series. We're doing it in 73 hours. Number one, how do you know it's a 73-hour series? Leave it alone. And number two, if that truly is the case, then they did a disservice to their fans, because if we could have had 10 episodes in both last season and this season, I guarantee you 98% of the gripes we have, would be solved. Would be 100% solved. And while I do blame like I said, so I blame the showrunners for that. You know, they've clearly, I don't know, are they just done with it? Were they done with it? They just wanted to get it done so they can go and do their Star Wars thing? Maybe. Am I going to watch Knights of the Old Republic? No. Probably not, because Knights of the Old Republic was one of my most favorite games, and just the thought of them butchering it the way they butchered Game of Thrones, a book series that I've loved for longer than I can even imagine, and to have the thought that they could potentially ruin that too? Oh god, no. But as much as I blame them, there's one other person I blame, and it's George R. R. Martin himself. At the end of the day, when all this happened and all this went down, he told them how it's supposed to go down. Apparently, he gave them a list of bullet point notes, because he never had the whole thematic how it's going to happen. So they've been adapting his stuff ever since the end of the books. As far as I remember, the thought was the books would catch up to the series. They didn't. Instead, we got Dance with Dragons that came out on the day that Season 1, Episode 1 launched. And I am going to be so beyond disgusted if next week the episode comes out and at the end it's like, oh, George R. R. Martin's book comes out next week. Because they're using it to drum up hype. I wouldn't be surprised. Also, so here's the thing. George R. R. Martin is a great writer. His character development's some of the best, bar none, in the fantasy genre. I wish I could write like him. I have a novel. I have a trilogy of novels that I've been writing for years. And one of the biggest things I have is the believability of characters. And one thing George R. R. Martin succeeds in is the believability of his characters. They're grounded in reality. Even though it's a fantasy series, they're very human. They suffer humanity. Because humanity is a plague. And they suffer it. And he gets that, and he plays that up, and it's perfect. It's perfect. However, once season 5 ended and it caught up to the books, we saw everything just kind of went downhill slowly, granted, but it did. And to what is the cluster shiza of this series. I don't even want to see the end. I'm at a point where I don't even want to see the ending. I really don't. Not because I'm not a fan. I think the problem is I wouldn't even say I'm too much of a fan, is that I'm a fan not who wants his expectations met, but who feels that we are entitled to certain things. And entitlement is a dangerous thing in the world. Just look at video games where the gamers are revolting back because they feel things are wrong and whatever. And I'm not going to comment on that because that's really not my place to say anything. The issue, I feel, is just, we have scenes like Arya living through a million different things this episode. Like, okay, you know what? I get it. They wanted to have a big episode. We're going to have 80-minute episodes, guys. This last episode was 74 minutes long, number one. Number two, we spent 40 of that minutes, just following Arya through the streets on her way out of King's Landing. Again, videography-wise, beautifully shot. The show was, it's beautifully shot. The Battle for Winterfell, people complained it was too dark, blah, 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 whatever. Fine. This episode was beautifully shot. I had no complaints. My complaints were more story-driven and stuff like that. So we see Arya, she's running through the streets, getting literally buildings dropped on her. I think she had, if I go back and watch, I'm almost certain that it was 8 or 9 buildings dropped on her. And what is she she's got that plot armor, right? I'm not saying she had to die. I get it, she's a bigger character. But when you hear things like D&D saying, again, in that Inside the Episode thing, they're like, yeah, they said that they said that Arya, it wouldn't have as much emotional gravitas if we were just following random people through the street, so we thought, why not Arya? It should never... The answer to a question, especially about characters, should never be, why not this person? Because then that means that you're just throwing that person in there because you know the audience likes them. Not because that's what the story dictated they do, or be. That's the issue. And I feel like this series, especially this season, has been them just trying to win people over with fan service because they know what's coming at the tail end, and they're like, listen, if we just make you guys happy, you'll maybe forget about the ending. I'm warning everyone, next weekend, people are going to be pissed. There's a reason the showrunner said they're going to be watching they're not even watching the finale. They're going off into a secluded place for I think a couple weeks with their family and their loved ones because they know shit's going to go down. And not in a good way. They know the fandom is going to lose their minds because of the disservice that was done to these characters and to us. I feel, and then there's obviously little things here and there I'm not picking up on, how Euron apparently has the lungs of a god and can swim from the Iron Fleet, which is a million... the Iron Fleet's a clear 10 kilometers out, burning on the horizon, but Euron swims all the way to shore At the same time that Jamie's there. Also, everyone else who, we see Dragonfire burning down stone and melting stone, but somehow Euron gets hit by Dragonfire and he's cool. He's fine. Cool, thanks, bruv. All because they wanted to have that artificial Jamie and Euron conflict. There was never a conflict between the two of them. There was the rivalry because they both had love for the same person, but there was never conflict. But for whatever reason, Euron decided conflict. I get it, he's chaos in this universe, so they add chaos to everything. And even there's the death of Cersei and Jamie. And while I think it was a beautiful moment, this episode really made you feel for Cersei. Because Dany has just gone so downhill, and it just subverted our expectations, which is what D&D said they wanted to do. They wanted to subvert everyone's expectations. I cared for Cersei. I felt bad for her, even after everything she did. In that moment, there's a point where you're literally seeing the despair around her, and there's just no hope for her. That's it. It's done. And Jaime said he wants to die in the arms of the woman he loves. Well, he got his wish. He got his wish. And so I'm not just, shitting all over the episode for no reason. There were good things. There was one good thing. There were two, actually. One is the cinematography. Like I said, it was beautifully shot. There were good shots. There was good things. The other really good thing I liked, the pyrotechnics were cool. Not what was being torched, but the way it was torched and how it looked was kind of cool. Clegane Bowl was great. It gave us the ending we deserved. And everyone wanted the Hound to win, one-sidedly, just slice the Mountain in half. But I think it was one of those parallels where you just have to accept that the Mountain, rather, Sandor's hatred of fire, because he ended up dying by fire, the one thing he hates most in life. It was his hatred for his brother outweighed his hatred for fire, and so at that point he just accepted his fate, and he knew that the only way he was going to end this was by taking that jump. And it was great. That was fine. Qyburn getting his head literally rocked, fantastic. Varys getting melted by Dragonfire, that was disgusting. Tyrion was literally the child in that scene. So, I don't know about people who, you and your friends, you mess up, but then you realize, you're at school, you guys do something you're really not supposed to do, and you realize, look, if I just rat on this person, I'm going to get in less trouble. So you go and tell the teacher, you're like, listen, they're doing bad things over there. I was with them, I did bad things too, but they started it. Naturally, they're going to get in trouble because you came and spoke to them, so it's the leniency. And it's it's weasel. It's a weasel tactic. Tyrion's supposed to be one of the smartest people in Westeros, and all we've seen the last 2 seasons is that he's not. And is that just hubris? Is that just his pride this whole time, telling him that he's something that he's not? Could be. Anyways, guys, I don't like doing... Well, no, I don't mind doing these things. I'm a very opinionated person, as you can see, so you're going to be seeing, you're going to be hearing this stuff when, video game trailers and stuff for things that I'm interested in come out, and stuff like that. But, yeah, I just wanted more. I feel we deserved more. And I feel what we got is so significantly under part of what we deserved. I was telling my friends, I'm going into next week, I'm going to watch it because we've been doing this viewing party. I'm not just about to bail, even though, trust me, there's a big part of me that just wants to bail. At the end of the day, plain and simple, it's just, I'm going in with absolutely no expectations, so when the horrible, bittersweet ending gets handed to us, I can just go, okay, shut it off and pretend that it never happened. I can't believe this is what we're getting. After all these years, all this build-up, it's just lazy writing, and it's just a storyline that's all over the place. Anyways, guys, I apologize. There's been 25 minutes of me just rambling and ranting, and you probably got enough things going on in your life, but I needed to get this out because it helped me air out how I feel. And now I feel a little bit better. Not really. A little bit. Anyways, until next time, guys, you know who I am. You know where we are. I don't even have the don't even have the energy to do the outro. That's how upset I am by all this. And not even upset, just saddened. But we'll do it for you guys. Hamail. This is Backwards Hat Gaming. Hopefully when I see you next time, I've got a smile. Bye, guys.